Hey Ron, this is Jonas from Islandworks, getting ready for a little bit of more fun. Today, I was really supposed to finish off the wire harness of my Porsche 964, but I needed a break from that. It really takes all the time in the world, and I needed to do something different, assembling something. So what I did was this instead, finalizing the last pieces of my power plant. This is where we're gonna end up. This is how we got there. Okay, so first things first, and that is the fan shroud. Fan shroud, it's this piece here. It's the thing that sits on top of the air-cooled engine. And then as air is pushed into the engine with this fan here, this fan shroud will help it to get pushed through the cylinders. And something you quite often see on these is that people have installed these little funny pipes. And what this pipe does, it taps off a little bit of the air that is supposed to cool the engine, and that air is then ducted through the exhaust headers, and that's what drives the heat of your car, right? You take a little bit of air here and you push that through your exhaust headers, they're hot, then it gets hot in the cabin. But since I don't have any heat in my car, because I removed that, I could go with this concept. So this concept is just a fan shroud block off. So this looks already quite a lot better. The air that we otherwise would be sacrificing to the exhaust headers, we're not pushing down through the engine, so that's not bad. However, I don't like when things that could be one piece end up being two pieces. So let's do something else here. Take two. Let's do this one in something cooler. So this is now a single piece. So with this piece, we've actually integrated this piece into the whole Monty of it. And you know what? It looks a lot cooler, doesn't it? I got this one from Nev Payne, a really nice guy that wanted to help out the cause, so to speak. And I think it is really cool. I'm gonna weigh these and see what I've gained with this. Fit has been good, and serves the purpose of making it a single piece. And now looking at this really nice carbon fiber piece, I need to strap this one down and need to figure out where I'm going to run the cables in and out of this one. Because with a single piece, you will have to install this guy with the fan in it, like this. And that means that the cables, they need to be routed in here nicely. You need to tuck them a little bit in the back so they get out there. And that needs to be something that is done in good synchronization, of course. Before I do that, I'm gonna spend a little bit of time on this guy here. These are water blasted, these are magnesium original. I had all kinds of crazy ideas about changing these and upgrading them and all kinds of stuff, but insanity ended at that thought. So I'm gonna paint these, and my idea is that I like kind of the blackish with the gray. So I'm gonna start off with this one in gray, and I have this paint that someone recommended me. It's called Wrinkle. I'm gonna show it to you in a second here. And I'm just going to clean this one a little bit, and we try to paint it. As I paint it, I'm just going to mask any area that is going to touch the fan, because that's going to be a little bit of a tricky piece to make sure I don't get any interference between the fan and the other moving parts here. Yeah, good stuff. So this is what I'm going to try with Wrinkle Plus. So you spray it. It's good up to quite a high temperature, and after you sprayed it, you actually put it in the oven to bake it a bit. Haven't done this before. I think it's gonna go perfect. Let's have a look. All right, while I'm waiting for the fun paint to dry, I'm just gonna tidy this up, get the fan shroud on, and then build the intake on this. Something to think about on the 3.6s and 3.8 is that they have knock sensors. That's good. If I had that connected the last time with my previous ECU, I might not have had the damage that I had in my engine, because I had them but they were not connected. They will be connected now that I have a better ECU. The original knock sensors, they sit with cables on them like this, and they go through, and then they sit up on the intake, so you connect them there. I've struggled a little bit with how to do this in a really neat and nice way, so I've opted for these kind of knock sensors. I'll show you here. So this is a knock sensor that doesn't have a cable attached to it. And I opted for this one because this is going to be much easier for me to do the harnessing in a good way. And it has to do with how this has to be assembled for this to work. To access anything in here, you either have to take this off or you have to take the fan off, and you have to take the fan off to take this off. So I opted for a way of doing it where this one sits, and I made an entry hole here with a sub-grommet. What this means is that I can pull the cable through here, and I can connect to that knock sensor there. I'm going to pull earth, the engine earth here, and then I can connect to that knock sensor that is missing there. And then the way that this sub-grommet works is that you tidy the cables, and then you kind of put this one on, and then you plug it in from that direction. And some of you guys that have more experience with wiring than me, you will probably criticize me from going from one of these that has a cable to the one that has the connector on the thing, because typically you like this because you move the vibrations away from the engine. But I can't figure out some nice way of doing this otherwise. The alternative that I did see was to pull these out and then build some kind of a bracket up here. Yeah, maybe I should actually do that. And like always with me, I end up changing my mind 5-10 times. In the end, I've pinned this down and I've put out the knock sensors this way. This is now the original knock sensors where the cables are attached at the source, and I'll have to build some kind of bracket or something here that the ECU harness can then hook up to. Nevertheless, let's start with the intake. In one of the previous episodes called Speedy Intake, I kind of designed my concept for the intake. And that's gotten a little bit further since then, actually quite a lot further. In that episode I was doing these plastic mock-ups that had different kind of... They were either wrong or didn't work or too tall or whatever it was. In the end, this ended up with these. So this is an offset CNC milled piece that came out of this iterations of the 3D printed. So this one is offset, so it's not straight as you can see, it's offset to make the GT3 intake sit more accurately and more nicer on this narrower engine. Yeah, I've done quite a few of these already. Seems to be some good interest in these. What I do with these is that these sit on a thermal insulator. This is like a reinforced high thermal plastic that has really good insulation properties. Not like these thick old insulators that you used to have on the older Porsche engines, which is just thick and doesn't really insulate heat. These actually insulate heat. You put it there, then you take this little goodie and you put that one there, right? So I'm gonna put a few of these down and we're gonna have a look at the fuel rail. And a few minutes later I have them on to the engine. What I also put in was the fuel rail that I showed in the last episode when I built this intake concept, and that's the Nuke fuel rails. A fuel rail concept that I developed together with this Nuke Performance here at Gothenburg. Took an old fuel rail, took the measurements and so on, and came up with this one. They're really nice. This one is just the inlet, right? So the fuel comes in here from the fuel pump. And then it goes from this one, it goes over in a tube and then across to the other one, and then from there there's a fuel regulator. We can look at the other side. A really nice one here, and then at the very end of it you have this guy, which is something I adapted. It's a radium DMR, it's called. It's not tightened here right now, but it's a radium DMR, so direct mount regulator that sits here. So as the fuel comes over from the other side and comes in on the front of the rail here, then actually this regulator here has an outlet here that goes back to the tank, and then I put a little fuel pressure sensor here, so you can put this into your ECU so you know exactly what the fuel pressure is. And then you have to adapt it to get it to actually fit here, because it doesn't fit bolt on to this. I think it looks quite good, and it fits the purpose. What I don't like with it is that the fuel hose kind of goes a little bit of an awkward way around the fan shroud here. I'll show you what I mean. And really the only thing that I don't like with these rails is that the fuel hose goes like this rather than like this. And now you look at me and you say, this guy's completely insane. Why in the world does that matter? Actually, it doesn't matter at all. It really doesn't matter. But I'm kind of like, if I would make it different, I would make it like this. And here comes an even stranger thing, and that is that I've actually designed a different fuel rail here. And I did this because I have nothing to do and I have all the time in the world. So I decided to design a different kind of fuel rail here. And if I ever decided to finish this concept, the fuel hose would come in there, so it would be a straight shot across. So neat and tidy from that perspective. And it would then have the pressure regulator just here. So it sits here as one of these standard regulators, and then on the top like this, this is too big, but the fuel return would be in the middle of the rail there. I think it could be a neat concept with really a billet fuel rail with these little ears here that kind of conceal the bolt properly. You could put the fuel pressure sensor here, so it's kind of tucked away and it doesn't beat the eye. Of course, there's a connector missing here. And if you look at the bottom side, you have a standard regulator there. Nice, neat, industrial, whatever. And of course, that's a pretty big leap, and it's going to cost me, I don't know, $1,000 to just get that done. However, it's one of these things I've looked at. I think these are cool, but it could be a little bit cooler. Could be. I think actually the fan housing and all of those things have dried up. Let's have a look at how they turned out. Okay, first guy up is the fan housing. This one, I thought this one was gonna give me a little bit of a wrinklish look with this paint and being called Wrinkle Plus. And it's not wrinkly at all. It's actually quite smooth. It looks, I would say, pretty good. Quite happy about it. As you see, I've put the generator into it. But have a look at it. It looks, I would say it looks pretty good for a 32, 33-year-old piece of old magnesium. So this is how that piece looks. Strapped down there. I think it actually looks pretty good. But you won't do it justice without putting the actual fan in, right? And the funny thing here is that this one was supposed to end up being a little bit wrinklish, right? Like valve covers sometimes are. Looking cool. The fan turned out really wrinklish. It's not so wrinkly when you feel it, and it's not wrinkly on the back of it, but on the front of it. Look at this. Can you see that? Yeah, I don't know if I need to redo this. I might actually redo this because it's not at all what I intended it to be. But nevertheless, it is what I got it to be. So I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna use this for now. I have another fan housing and another fan and a generator lying somewhere over there. So I might fix up those so that I have a spare, and then I can change out the whole thing in the future. But for now, I'm just gonna tighten that one on there. And some of you out there might say, wrinklish on a propeller? Are you kidding me? Should you really have something wrinkly on a propeller? And then I look at myself and I say, okay, if it's something I should know how it works, it's actually propellers, because that's what I work with in my real life. But nevertheless, I'm not gonna spend all of this time just polishing off or blasting this off and doing that. I'll rather just do up another one and replace it later on. It does, however, look pretty original, doesn't it? Yeah. And here we go. Time to place the crown jewel onto the engine, and that is, of course, the intake. If you remember, and if you've seen the other episode that I keep referring to all the time, I designed up the other things, such as this is the T-piece that connects the electronic throttle body with the manifold with some sensors and stuff on it. I've finalized this now, so now I have almost everything finished, and it looks like this. Ta-da! And yeah, let's see what has actually changed in this spider looking kind of thing since last time. Of course, I've gotten to the final material selection and testing of this one. This is the T-piece that, of course, holds the electronic throttle body. On this side, we see a manifold intake pressure sensor with a temp sensor included into it. We see a vacuum reservoir, so you can flip-flop this resonance flap. We see a little solenoid there that you can actuate this one with. And then you have the resonance flap in the front. So this is no longer stuff that I print in my garage. As you can see, the finish of this is something completely different. This is an industrial process. It's a kind of printing, but it's not really printed. It's more like molded somehow. Yeah, this one is from the garage. You can see I put my little logo there just to make sure I remember that it's mine. It is an electronic throttle rather than this thing that a lot of people go for with this individual throttle bodies that you have one per cylinder. And people quite often come to me and they say, why don't you go with this ITB concept? Everyone thinks that's so cool. And I kind of look at this and I say, I think this is a lot cooler. But I know that there's a lot of different opinions about that, which I respect completely and fully. This one, of course, will go onto the intake. And this little guy can go on like this, of course. And if it goes on like this, then you'll put your air receiver here in the back. And that somehow looks crazy. Also looks kind of cool. I haven't decided what I think about this. If I do this way, I don't think I will be able to fit this filter. I might have to change that. The other way is to do this. And this I will most definitely fit in terms of the air filter. And it's kind of cool as well. I would have to rebuild and put the resonance, the vacuum reservoir, I have to put that further in, and yeah, then I could go this way. I think this is going to be more noisy though, so I'm not so convinced about it because of, for that reason. I think I will actually do this. One thing that I haven't covered is this guy here and what the purpose of this guy here is. So Porsche's made this system with resonance chambers this here is a resonance chamber, so it's a volume of air that the 3 cylinders on this side, they interact with each other at different RPMs, boosting horsepower in the mid-range. And you have this chamber here, which is a separate volume by itself. And the 3 cylinders, they help each other out, essentially. And then you have this thing in the middle. And what that thing in the middle is actually it's a little tube with some bearings and seals, and then there's a thrust plate in it like this. And what this one does is when you're at a certain RPM, the 2 volumes are separated, so they operate by themselves. And then above a certain RPM, they actually connect with each other. And you can hear this in a Porsche 964 because you have a similar thing. It looks different, but it does the same thing in a Porsche 964 original intake. And that's as you accelerate and as you pass 5,500 RPM, you can hear that the sound goes from brr to brr. And this is one of the fun things with driving this car, just passing that RPM, and you feel that you get that extra little kick. And as this guy is moving, you hear a difference in the sound because the behavior of this is changing. So this one I showed you, this was one of the tests I made for this. It failed after 15 hours. One of the depressing things with doing things with 3D printing at your house. I made some different iterations of this before. I had this one, which was like a bigger piece that kind of didn't need these rubber bevels on the side instead. This didn't work. This is how the original looks from a 996 GT3. Works fine. You can use this. You'll have to take a piece of it off here and make it look nice and all that. So that's a good solution. I think this solution here with Riding Island works on it is absolutely perfect for me, right? Not for you, but for me it's perfect. And I think with that, this thing is kind of finished. I think we need to put a little bit more attention on the front here though. And then our last little piece is the Serpentine belt. On the RSRs, I think it was, the 964 RSRs, they changed to a different belt system, a Serpentine belt system. So it has, rather than a V-belt, it had one of these flat belts. And some brilliant people somewhere in the US called Clevitt Engineering, they came up with an aftermarket system that essentially does the same thing. And I've had that on my engine for a while. It looks like this. It is really nice because it's completely silent, and like that would matter with the volume of these cars. But it kind of feels like really solid, really genuine when you hear it running. And it replaces this original concept that you have with the fan and the generator actually running on 2 concentric axles, where you have like 1 RPM for the fan and you have 1 RPM for the generator. You don't need that on a track car. It's all good if they run at the same, but you need that in traffic when you're sitting a lot at idle and the RPM of the car is too low for the generator to charge the battery when you have your AC on and things like that. But for track car, it doesn't matter because you're doing like this all the time, so you have plenty of speed on your engine, plenty of power from the alternator, and then you go with something really cool like this. I quite like this one actually. What did we accomplish today? Well, we put this bad boy together, and that's not bad. We had a look at the Fan Shroud from Nev Payne. It's really nice. I'll put his link in the description. We checked out the fuel rails with the regulator, and of course the nutty idea of just doing, oh, it's supposed to be like that, a billet version of this, which, yeah, let's see. Checked out the intake, the crown jewel of the thing. And then, of course, my paint failure, which looks pretty cool, but is something that maybe I need to fix at some point. And that's quite a treat, isn't it? I'm quite excited having gotten to this stage finally, where the engine is very close to being completely done. What do I have left, really? Engine tin, fixing up all that. The ignition system, where I'm going to do a little bit of a special on that. The wire harness of the engine, and then fixing up the rest of the wire harness on the car, which is a job that takes forever. If anyone knows where to get a hold of more time, do let me know. Also, what I've got left is a little bit of the piping, tubing, brake pipes, oil pipes, fuel pipes, essentially those. After that, I think we're gonna flip the switch. Not too far away. If you like what I'm doing, then you should comment, like, subscribe, do all these things that you know make me happy. If you don't, I will see you next time.